Hello, everyone, and welcome to the third annual Goodie Awards. This is our award show we do at the end of the year where we celebrate the best in TV as well as film throughout the year. This year being 2025, as it winds down to its close, we will acknowledge six categories throughout this show: superhero adaptation, worst film of the year, best actress, best horror film, best actor, best television show, and we will round it off with the best movie of 2025. And before we jump into our categories, our awards for the evening, we can't go any further without first acknowledging those that we lost in 2025. And these are the notable losses in film and music and celebrity status, I guess you could say, throughout 2025. Of course, I'm going to miss a lot of names. There's a lot of names that I'm going to miss because I just couldn't get them all or fit them all in on this show. And let's not forget those of us who have lost loved ones ourselves throughout the year. I know I lost a few family members, a couple of family members throughout this year. And for those of you who have lost loved ones throughout 2025, my condolences to you. I know that it's tough. And if you're a big fan of certain films or certain actors and their loss probably hit you pretty tough, like a couple of them on this list that hit me right in the gut. Like, man, really? You know, it's really sad when somebody passes away, no matter how old they are, how young they are, or their status, or whatever the case may be. A loss is a loss, and this year is no exception. We had a few that cut pretty deep, and the first one on our list, we have Richard Chamberlain, and I remember him from Shogun, not the recent one, but the one from the 80s, I think it was, the miniseries that came out. Richard Chamberlain passed away. He was also Alan Quartermain in that Indiana Jones ripoff from the 80s. Yes, he passed away this year. The great singer Roberta Flack passed away. Of course, the legendary Gene Hackman, wrestling icon Hulk Hogan. The one that kind of hit me hard, one of the ones that hit me hard this year, Val Kilmer, passed away as well. Famed, legendary filmmaker David Lynch, Diane Keaton passed away this year. Sally Kirkland, Diane Ladd, Michael Madsen. Michael Madsen, man, it one of those unsung heroes in films. Most notably Quentin Tarantino films, but he will be missed as well. Rock icon and legend Ozzy Osbourne, Butch Cassidy or Sundance. I don't remember which one he was, but Robert Redford, the great Robert Redford, passed away just recently. James Ranson passed away, who man, he's one of those another unsung heroes, character actors. I remember him from The Wire. I remember him from It Chapter 2. Very tragic what happened to him. And it is also a constant reminder to check on your loved ones and make sure they're all right, Speaking of tragedy, not Robert, but Rob Reiner, meathead himself from All in the Family, and went on to become one of the best directors working with When Harry Met Sally, Spinal Tap, A Few Good Men, Stand By Me. I mean, my God, this dude was phenomenal in front of and behind the camera. Speaking of in front of, one of my favorite performances of his was in The Wolf of Wall Street. He was awesome in that movie. My condolences to his family. Terrence Stamp Yes, man. General Zod himself, he passed away this year. Michelle Trachtenberg, who very young, man, watched her grow. You know, she was a young actress, seeing her on, I think, Nickelodeon. Went on to do film, and man, so tragic. Her passing. Norm, man, from Cheers. George Went, he passed away, and the one that cut the deeps, one that cut me like a knife, Theo Huxtable himself, Malcolm Jamont Water, who a Warner, who just he's a hero. He went out like a hero, and bruh, grew up with him. Felt like he was my brother. You know, he was watched that show, watched the Cosby Show like everybody else did. It just he was just everybody's de facto brother, and to see him pass away, and he was still working. He was still doing his thing, you know, and vacationing with his family, and tragic loss that took place there. Still hurt by that. Bob Oker, who who you may remember from Major League. He was the announcer in that film. He was also an announcer in real life, a broadcaster for baseball. And Big George Foreman, yeah, bro, he passed away this year, along with Sly Stone from Sly and the Family Stones. Uh, Irv Gotti, rap icon, from the late 90s, early 2000s with Murder Inc. He gave us Ja Rule and Ashanti. He passed away. And D'Angelo. D'Angelo was another one that was a gut punch. Big fan of his music. Love his music. Love to see him. You know, he was just that one performer that just certain artists that just radiates passion in their music. That's D'Angelo, and he will be sorely missed. And of course, I missed a million and one names. I know who passed away in 2025, but uh, I can assure you is not out of disrespect. It is truly because of my feeble mind, and didn't didn't get them all written down, and didn't get them all acknowledged on this show. But my condolences to their families. Much love to them. Also, before we get into the awards, let's acknowledge one thing here. I want to shout out the great city of New Orleans. 2025 couldn't have started off any worse than New Orleans did. New Orleans, I mean, it was just mayhem after mayhem when it came to the beginning of 2025. Literally, the first day in 2025, we had a terror attack in the French Quarter. That was on January the 1st. We had a terror attack. Then you had a blizzard that took place at the beginning of the year. Then you had a prison break that took place at the beginning of the year. All the while, you have a Super Bowl that's about to take place here in New Orleans. And then the crime rate looked like it was about to go through the roof. But thank God, New Orleans stayed resilient and calm and cool like we always are, and it kind of mellowed out. It mellowed out before the summer. I think it was like mid-spring. We kind of mellowed out, and we just kept chugging along like we normally do. It nothing phases New Orleans. We can bounce back from anything, and we bounced back yet again in 2025. So I want to give a shout out to the city of New Orleans for surviving 2025 after everything told us at the beginning of this year that the world was coming to coming to an end. Everything that could have went wrong, but here we are. All right. So without further ado, let's get into the third annual Goodie Awards. Of course, I do this every year. Just started 3 years ago with it. Normally, I used to do a top 10 list of this, that, and that, but everybody does a top 10 list. So I wanted to do it in a fun way, in a different way than everybody else. And so the awards. Let's do the award show format. And I've had fun with it. It's actually harder this way. It's harder this way, believe it or not. But it's still fun to put together every year. And I know it's diverse. I know that a lot of people probably going to look at these nominees in these categories and like, how did you nominate this? Or how did this person win? Or this movie win? And so on and so forth. But we have to remember, it's my list. It's my list. If you have a better list, by all means, do your list. And this is all for good fun. It's nothing to argue and fight about. It's all in good fun. And so let's begin with our first category of the night, and it is Best Superhero Adaptation. And this category will cover TV as well as movies. As far as superhero adaptations, the nominees are Marvel Zombies, Superman, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, Thunderbolts, and Daredevil Born Again. Those are your 5 nominees for Best Superhero Adaptation of 2025. Let me just start off by saying there were quite a few superhero properties to come out in 2025. But shockingly, out of these nominees, only 2 of them are films. Now, we've had a few superhero movies to come out this year, but only 2 made the cut. And that's Superman and Thunderbolts, or the New Avengers, whatever you want to call it at this point. That just goes to show you that there's a lot, and there were some good adaptations that just didn't make the cut. But this is more of a testament on how good of the quality of television has been treating these comic book superhero adaptations lately. You know, they really have been giving it much love. And so the winner of Best Superhero Adaptation for 2025 goes to Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. I had such a good time with that show. That show was so fun, and it was literally a comic book coming to life. This animated style that was just ripped from the pages of a comic book. I felt like a little kid reading a Superman, not a Superman, but a Spider-Man comic book. You know, it's the way they kind of honored the MCU, but went in a different direction by being in a different universe, but still holding true to what we've grown to know about Spider-Man in the MCU proper, was genius in my eyes. And I thought it was not only the best superhero adaptation, but one of the best shows of the year. But it is truly worthy of Best Superhero Adaptation of 2025. Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Now, we're doing a lot of best. We're doing a lot of best of. But before we go any further, let's just get the elephant out. Address the elephant in the room and get the worst out the way. Probably should have started with the worst, but I don't care. It wouldn't have mattered where we addressed it. It still would have been there. It needs to be addressed. And these are your nominees for Worst Movie of 2025. And I will say, there were a lot. There were a lot. This was the hardest category to narrow down. That's how bad these movies are that came out in 2025. There were some really, really good ones, but my God, they had so many bad ones. And I thought it was easy, but it wasn't. It was really a lot of movies that I would not only categorized as the worst of the year that you probably can categorize as one of the worst ever. That's how bad these movies are. And so here are your nominees for worst movie of 2025: The Electric State, Hurry Up Tomorrow, In the Lost Lands, The Strangers Chapter 2, Red Sonja, War of the Worlds, and I Know What You Did Last Summer. My God, these movies were horrible. And all of them have a case to win. There are no losers here. They're all the worst. But if I got to narrow it down to one as being the worst movie of 2025, hands down, it has to be, and it is, War of the Worlds. The worst movie I have ever seen. I have never seen a movie so bad. It took me 3 tries to finish this movie. It was hard to get through it. It was that bad. It was nothing about this movie screams movie. It's just there. Now, the movie was shot during the pandemic. So this is like a 5-year-old film that finally got released. But the reason it took so long, nobody wanted to release the movie. It was that bad, but Amazon decided to do it. And all they did was turn it into an Amazon Prime commercial. Amazon Prime. Amazon Prime gift card. Let's use Alexa. Let's do everything was Amazon. And it was so blatant, man. I've never seen product placement so blatant in my life. Acting so bad in my life. Ice Cube, I've seen him act. I've seen him in Boys in the Hood. I've seen him in Three Kings. I know he can act. I don't know what this was. This was such a paycheck movie. Everybody involved was horrible. The direction was horrible. And using that, what they call it, screen life format where everything is viewed through a screen, through a camera, a webcam or whatever, was so bad. We're talking War of the Worlds. This was horrible, man. The worst movie of 2025, probably in my lifetime. War of the Worlds. All right, we got the worst out the way. Let's get back to the best. Let's get to the cream that rises to the top. Best Actress of 2025. Tough category. Tough. It was tough to narrow it down to 5, let alone pick a winner. There were so many phenomenal performances by actresses this year that it was tough. But these are the 5 that got narrowed down, in my humble opinion. Nominees for Best Actress of 2025. Elle Fanning for Predator's Badlands. I know that's going to cause some heads to scratch, but she had a phenomenal performance. I think she carried that movie, no pun intended, even though she didn't have legs. She gave an awesome performance that outshined the Predators. I enjoyed her so much. I watched that movie for her. I watched it twice, or is it 3 times now? And just for her, because she was so good. And I'm a Predator fan. All I care about is the Predators killing people. But her performance captivated me for some strange reason, which earned her this nomination. Also nominated in this category, Amy Madigan for Weapons. Yes, ma'am. I mean, came out of nowhere. She haven't seen Amy Madigan in a film in so long. I thought she was retired, and came back with a vengeance, man, in Weapons. Rhea Seehorn in Puribus, if I'm pronouncing, I'm pretty sure I'm butchering it, but the one television nomination here. That show came out of nowhere for me. I didn't know anything about it. I kept hearing the buzz, so I started watching it, and it was instantly hooked. And she is phenomenal in that show. Didn't watch Better Call Saul. I saw a few episodes with her in it, but I wasn't a big watcher like I was with the Breaking Bad. But man, she is phenomenal in this show. Chase Infinity for One Battle After Another. I think this is her first performance, and I cannot wait to see what else she has. She held her own against the likes of Leonardo DiCaprio, with sharing the screen with Sean Penn, and held her own. And she is phenomenal in One Battle After Another. And our final nominee is Wambe Musaku, and I'm sorry for butchering her name, from Sinners. She was the heart of that movie. No pun intended if you saw Sinners, but she is truly the heart of that film. Basically the emotional anchor of Sinners. And man, she is awesome. She is awesome. I've been following her career for a long time, and she rightfully deserves this shine. But unfortunately, in the words of Highlander, there can be only one. And the best performance by an actress of 2025 goes to Amy Madigan for Weapons. That movie doesn't work without Amy Madigan, without her character being the way she is. And she full on dove head first into this character that could have came off as cheesy, campy, ridiculous. It could have been the dumbest move ever, the way this character was kind of written and presented. But she gave this character such a chilling, frightening, one of the most frightening villains in film. You got to put Annie, I think the name of the character, it up there with one of the most chilling villains in film, because my God, man, she took the movie over. I'm thinking the movie is one thing, and when she pops on screen, I'm like, what is this silly thing with all this makeup? And just from underneath that makeup, just chewed up every second of screen that she was on. I'm super impressed and love the fact that, even in her later years, taking some time off and not working as much, she still got it. She proved to everybody that, yeah, I don't work as much as I used to, but I'm still here. Hard to imagine that this is the same young lady who was Kevin Costner's wife in Field of Dreams, So it's amazing. She rightfully deserves this honor. Amy Madigan from Weapons wins Best Actress of 2025. Our next category, Best Horror Movie of 2025. This was probably the toughest category out of all of them. For the simple fact, 2025 had some really, really good horror films. As a fan of the genre, it gets stale after a while. How many slasher movies can you watch without being bored and not knowing what's going to happen next? How many dead people rising from the dead and all this other foolishness? You can only do so much with horror. And so we've gotten to the point that you got to kind of reinvent the franchise, or not the franchise, the genre. And 2025 really did that. We saw some very unique and interesting horror films that were really, really good. And man, it was hard to narrow it down, but we got down to 6 nominees for Best Horror Movie of 2025. Starting off with our first nominee, Bone Lake, Sinners, Weapons, Good Boy, Final Destination, Bloodlines, and Together. Those are your 6 nominees for Best Horror Movie of 2025. It was hard. It was hard. I like all of these movies. I like some movies that didn't even make this list, but these were the 6 best in my humble opinion. But there can only be one, and your winner for Best Horror Movie of 2025 Good Boy. Good Boy was I, I don't even know how to describe it. I thought that this would be just a silly horror film from the perspective of a dog. I'm like, okay, so they're gonna have the dog talking or something. You know, you get to hear the dog's thoughts or whatever the case may be. It's something to push the narrative verbally so the audience can understand and hear what the dog is thinking. But it wasn't that. It wasn't that at all. It was like a dog. It was a real dog. There was no CGI. The dog almost was nominated for Best Actor, but I didn't. I didn't want to go too far with that. But the dog was phenomenal. The story is phenomenal. And my God, man, this really touched me. This movie touched me. Not in a crazy way, but it was just emotionally beautiful and sad and tragic at the same time. And this dog carried the movie because it was just the dog. You're following this dog through this horror movie, and you're scared for the dog. You know, it's terrifying at the same time. I was I was just floored by Good Boy, and it rightfully earned its spot as the best horror movie of 2025. We move on to our next category, Best Actor. And Best Actor this one wasn't so tough for me. Shockingly, I knew instantly. I knew instantly when I walked away from this movie that this actor was going to win. You know, even though they had other performances that were awesome this year who rightfully get nominated, but there was one performance that stood out so much to me and was never topped throughout the year. These are the nominees for Best Actor in a Film for 2025. Sean Penn in One Battle After Another, Oscar Isaac in Frankenstein, Jesse Plemons in Bulgania, Michael B. Jordan in Sinners. Now, you can pick either one, Smoke or Stack. He did excellent as both. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in The Smashing Machines, and Jonathan Majors in Magazine Dreams. Yeah, you can still harp on the Jonathan Majors hate train, but the dude can act his behind off. That dude is phenomenal. And if you've seen Magazine Dreams, that movie is phenomenal, and he is phenomenal in it. It's sad what happened to his career, and whatever he did, I hope that he's paid the price for it, because he deserves to be on in front of a camera doing what he does best. And Magazine Dreams definitely shows that. But he wasn't the winner. He wasn't the winner. There was a performance that was just that much better than that phenomenal performance. All 6 of these actors gave awesome performances this year. But I got to give it to the one that outshined them all, and that is the winner of Best Actor of 2025, Sean Penn, in One Battle After Another. Sean Penn, it's weird. Sean Penn plays the most racist person on God's green earth, who so happens to love black women. and what made it stick out to me, I know people like that. I know people like that. And their mental I don't know, it's like they're torn within themselves. It's this existential crisis that they go through, and it's phenomenal to watch, especially for me. You know, I because I know better, and I'm looking at them have all this hate, but don't have this hate. They just hate because that's what they were taught. But deep down in their heart, they don't feel that way. They may feel that way in their mind, but their heart tells them different. I went through all that to say that Sean Penn's performance is that. visual depiction of that. And you can see it in his face. You can see it in his actions. The way he uh uh delivers this complex performance of this just bigot human being who is in love with a black woman is phenomenal and something I haven't seen on screen before. And I bought it. I bought it. I actually questioned if Sean Penn was racist. Even though I know better, I know his life. But I don't know his life, but I've followed his career and followed things that he's done, his activism in certain things, and I know he's not like that. But it's like, my God, bruh, where did you pull this from? And the dude was phenomenal in this movie, outshined everybody else in the movie, and we had some phenomenal actors. You had Leonardo DiCaprio, you had Benicio del Toro, you Regina Hall. It was so many people in this movie that was given just Oscar-worthy performances, but he just left them in the dust. Sean Penn, your best actor in 2025. Moving on to the small screen here in the nominations for Best TV Show of 2025. Some good television in 2025. The television show good that you almost like, I don't need to go to the theater to see nothing. And I just everything on TV was popping this year. I'm shocked on how good of TV shows that we got out. I mean, phenomenal TV shows in 2025. Our nominees for Best TV Show: It, Welcome to Derry, Adolescence, Pluribus, The Pit, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, and Alien Earth. 6 phenomenal shows, 6 difficult choices to pick. Well, not really. Not really. The winner was an easy choice because I liked every episode, every actor, every performance, everything about it was phenomenal. The other nominees, yes, I feel the same way, but not as in depth as I do for the winner. And I celebrate all 6 of these shows. You had a few others that were on my honorable mention that could have been mentioned, but just couldn't quite make the cut. But like I said, this was a phenomenal year in television, but we got to pick only one. And the winner for Best TV Show of 2025, The Pit. The Pit, I never watched ER. I never watched that show. I say never. I watched a couple of episodes, but I wasn't a viewer. I wasn't like a big ER fan. Like, oh my God, George Clooney. It wasn't none of that. I watched it once or twice because either somebody was talking about it or it was nothing else on that night. But never followed it. Never watched Grey's Anatomy. Wasn't into medical dramas like that. And so this show came along, and I don't know why I started watching The Pit. I think me and my wife were trying to find something to watch on TV one day, and I'm like, this show started on HBO Max. Hey, let's check it out. Let me see. You like Grey's Anatomy and all that, so I guess I blame her. Let's see how this turns out. First episode, oh man, this is really good. I like the pace of it all, Then the second episode, I'm like, my God, this is even better than the first episode. And as we kept going, I started to realize, because I'm slow, I'm like, wait, every episode is 1 hour shift. And so we're going like in real time. This is like 24, which is one of my favorite shows on ever. This is like 24 in ER had a baby and it popped out the pit. And this is exactly what it's real time. And you going through this shift with these doctors and these nurses and these patients and how frantic a ER is at this hospital. Then you have this mass shooting that took place at this event, and and they have to respond in the chaos that takes place, and they got to hold it together. But they're dealing with their own crap, personally, and all. It's like this is really, and this is real. This happens. This really happens. Because these doctors are humans too. They're not robots. And the way the show depict that was phenomenal. This was the most realistic show I've ever seen in my life. And I've grown to have so much respect for ER doctors, for nurses, for healthcare officials, bro. This show really did that for me. And I always had, you have general respect for them, but not like this. In this show with the actors who I'm blanking on their names, but they all were phenomenal, and I loved the direction. I loved everything about it. Can't wait for season 2, which comes out in a couple of weeks, from what I understand. And so we don't have far to wait for season 2, but season 1 was the best TV show of 2025, The Pit. So without further ado, we have arrived at our final and biggest award of the show, and it is none other the best movie of 2025. The creme de la creme here. The one movie that stood out amongst hundreds of other movies that came out in 2025. I mentioned earlier that this year had some stinkers. They had some really bad movies to come out in 2025. But it was an even balance in my eyes because they also had some really, really good movies to come out in this year. And it started early and it kind of sprinkled throughout the middle. Towards the end, when you normally get these big Oscar push movies, not so much at the end. But throughout, you had some decent ones. You had some sneaky good ones that you didn't expect. There's a couple of them here on the list. Some nominees here, but throughout, I really did enjoy 2025 for the most part when it came to film. And so here are your nominees for best movie for 2025: The Long Walk, Sinners, Magazine Dreams, Buganya, F1, Weapons, One Battle After Another, Warfare, and K-pop Demon Hunters. In a race for quality films this year, these 9 movies were the best in my humble opinion. All 9 deserve a round of applause. I think every one of these movies are worthy of winning this award. I've enjoyed them. Rewatchability for all of these are high. My surprises out of all of these, F1, did not expect F1 to be as good as it was. Didn't expect K-pop Demon Hunter to be as good as it was. Didn't expect The Long Walk to be as good as it was. I mean, this is a movie about walking. Literally, that's the whole movie. It did not expect it to be as emotionally gripping as it was. Warfare, as simple as a premise as it was done so well and so realistic. I mean, all of these movies are phenomenal. But once again, there can be only one. And your winner for best movie of 2025, Sinners. Sinners beat out the rest of the pack. Yeah, Sinners had everything. Absolutely everything that you look for going to see a film. Beautiful cinematography, great acting, great direction, well written, different just genre bending. This is a horror film disguised as a Jim Crow era film, disguised as a musical, disguised as social commentary, and it all melded together and worked perfectly. I enjoyed this movie so much. It was so well done. Ryan Coogler is truly one of the best directors currently working today. You put Ryan Coogler up there with Christopher Nolan, currently, Denis Villeneuve. You put him up there with them because nothing he's made has been bad. Matter of fact, everything he's made is borderline great. And this going back to Fruitvale Station. Nothing. The only misfire, if you want to count misfire in his filmography, is Black Panther Wakanda Forever. But if you know the backstory on why that movie turned out as messy as it was, you would understand. Your lead actor died right before filming. Had to rewrite the movie. Then COVID happened, so you're trying to film during COVID. Then the actress, your lead actress in the movie, she gets COVID, so you had to readjust there. The studio is force feeding these subplots in the movie that you didn't want in the movies, but so he had to find a way to make it work the best he can. And it wasn't a great film. It clearly wasn't as good as the first Black Panther, but it was watchable. He made it work. It wasn't bad. It could have been a dumpster fire, but it wasn't. And so he was able to bounce back. And this, man, Sinners was phenomenal. And if you know how Sinners came about, is even more phenomenal because he wanted to make Blade at Marvel. Marvel didn't want him to make Blade. And so, okay, no problem. So he switched it over and made Sinners. And the world is better for it. Michael B. Jordan in these dual roles was great. He got nominated for a Goodie. And so he knocked it out the park. Haley Steinfeld knocked it out the park. I mean, Delroy Lindo, who almost was nominated today, he knocked it out the park. I can't speak on it highly. Jack O'Connell, or is it Josh O'Connell? I forgot. Well, Remick. I loved him as the villain here. A villain that was just ferocious, but didn't want to be called a Klansman. You know how bad a group of people have to be that a blood-sucking vampire got offended by the fact you was he was called a Klan. He got offended by that. But anyways, I mean, this movie was great, man. I think it's the best of 2025. But like I said before, all of these nominees, if you want to say Weapons was better, I'm not going to fight you. If you say Begonia was better, I'm not going to fight you. All of these movies were great. But the one that touched me the most, the one I enjoyed the most, the one I can see myself rewatching more than the others is Sinners, your best movie of 2025. And so that is it for this year. That's it for 2025, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that 2025 was great for you. And I know it was great. Why? Because you're here. You made it. It was rough. We went through some ups and downs. You probably were broke a couple of times, but hey, you're here. You made it. You know, you was able to eat. You kept a roof over your head. Celebrate the good things. Focus on the positive. We'll get through the negative as one. But 2026 is knocking on the door. I hope that everybody is prosperous in 2026. I hope and pray that we all do better than we did in 2025. If you're ending 2025 with $100 in your pocket, I hope you end 2026 with $200 in your pocket. I hope that everything increase in your life in 2025 in the pursuit of happiness. So good on you. I know that we're going to get through this together. But that is the Goodie Awards for 2025. Thank you for joining me. Thank you all for supporting the show. Thank you for listening to the show throughout this year. Don't fret. Next year, we're coming back bigger and better than ever. I really, really do appreciate all the love and support that I'm getting from all of you out there. This has been a joy. You make this joyous for me. And so thank you all for supporting the show. I would love to know what's your best of 2025 and what is your best memories from 2025 and what's your plans for 2026? Let me know. Email the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can also search for the show on all social media platforms. Just search for the KB Radio Network. Also, don't forget about YouTube. Subscribe to the KB Radio Network channel and like this video if you don't mind. Don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to movie goodness here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me for the 3rd annual Goodie Awards. I can't wait to speak to you on the other side of 2026. Have a happy new year. Be blessed, and I love you all.